Hello everyone. Today I thought we'd try something a little different and take a look at this tank in a tin I found at my local Hobby Lobby. I also managed to find this less exciting looking tank in a box. Let's check them both out, find out which is the better tin-clad tank toy, the box or the tin. Let's start with tank in a tin. The front art is pretty good. It actually shows the vehicle you're going to get in it. In this case, it's an M41 Bulldog. Oh yeah, make sure you're 8+ if you're planning on buying this war machine. Wouldn't want any injuries. It's also battery powered. The top of the box has some decoration on it, including whatever tank that's supposed to be, and some guys. The sides have these military-esque inventory lists, so that's neat. The back has some history on the tank, including some stuff most children aren't even going to understand. I'm glad it's included though. Anyway, let's open this thing up and see how accurate it is. First off, we have some guys in this little bag. Although they're mostly just standard green army men toys at first glance, they don't really have any real issues with them and are perfect for 1/72nd scale once painted. I've used them in several of my 72nd scale pieces and they look pretty good. There are 3 variants of them, a running one with an SMG, and this guy with a bazooka. Although intended to be American troops, a change of paint and they could almost be any country's units. 12 come in this kit, although I have 9 now because I used some in the aforementioned 1/72nd scale builds. Let's get to the tank. Overall, it's decently accurate to the source material, or at least as good as they can get it with it being a toy. Things like radio antenna, grab handles, hooks, and machine guns can be left out because they're too small to be strong enough for play, and that's fine. The turret is able to spin all the way around, and the gun has some elevation and depression angles. The only major problem is that the drive sprocket should be in the rear, and there should be 1 extra road wheel. These aren't huge problems, and the sprocket in the front might have something to do with the internal mechanics. The whole tank is powered by a AAA battery that fits in right here. Then you simply screw in the top part of the hull. There isn't a way to control the tank besides turning it on and off, but it runs decently well. About as good as you'd expect from a battery-operated toy. Here it is next to my 1/35th scale Tamiya Bulldog. Notice the difference in the running gear. Other than that, they aren't too different. The tank in a tin isn't a bad product. It has usable figures, the play functions all work well, and it looks fairly accurate to its real-life counterpart. Cool. Let's look at its bargain bin brother, tank in a box. That's not really a joke either. I found this one marked down in the clearance section. First impressions with this one aren't as good. Minus 10 points for lack of alliteration. Also, there isn't any art displaying what you're getting inside, unless you count whatever this thing is. The back of the box has some generic stuff about how cool the product is, minus another 10 points for too much alliteration. It also says it's a pullback toy instead of a battery-operated one, so that's kind of a drawback. Okay, here it is, and...
What is that?
That has got to be the worst barrel sag I have ever seen. Yeah, So this is Tank in a Box. As you can see, it's an attempt at a Tiger 1 tank. Besides the poor mold quality, you can clearly see several seam lines, unsanded sprue bits, and a gaping crack in the turret, most likely due to the egregious amount of gun depression. There's also zero friction to keep the gun barrel up, so no matter how hard you try, you will always be cursed with barrel sag. The turret actually still spins all the way around, but it gets stuck in some spots. The detail on the engine deck is surprisingly good, but why are there fuel drums hanging off the mufflers? The running gear is also a nightmare of inaccuracies. Clearly this was a prefabricated tank part they just had laying around and slapped a Tiger 1 chassis on top of it. But Tank Nerd, you might be asking, what about the pullback action? To that I say, who are you and how'd you get in my house? The pullback action works. Sometimes. But, yeah. That's the tank. Maybe the figures it comes with will make up for its losses. Then again, maybe they won't. This guy looks like an early 2000s CGI project. How about this one? Kinda looks like Gumby with a rocket launcher. Oh, this one's a little better. Never mind, he has gamer neck. There's a couple of him, but... wait a minute. They have different guns. Weird. This guy doesn't look too bad. He looks a little shocked, like his mom's on the other end of the phone. This guy either has barrel sag or decided he wanted the Krumlau for this loadout. Then we got not one, not two, but three duplicate phone guys. And for some reason this one won't stand up. So yeah, that's Tank in a Box, and that's what you get in Tank in a Box. So naturally, since Tank in a Box was just so good, I had to get more than one. It comes with the same mediocre to bad soldier figurines as the other kit, so I won't be covering them. The reason I got another one is because this one actually has a different tank. Besides, after seeing that Tiger tank, how bad can this one possibly be? Congratulations, Panther, you did the impossible. You actually managed to make the Tiger look good. I've seen fast food kids' toys that look better than that. First off, what's with this gap? Why does it stick that far out in the front? It's almost as bad in the back, too. The detail on the rear plate isn't that bad. They actually managed to capture the 1-in-1 exhaust pipes like that of certain real Panther models. And the details overall aren't that bad. Certainly nothing amazing, but effort was made to capture some of the iconic details on the Panther. The gun is a little weird. It looks more like a short American 75mm barrel, rather than the iconic long Panther barrel. This one is pretty floppy too, but at least it doesn't have barrel sag. Once again, the turret rotates 360 degrees with some catches along the way. How about the pullback function? It's actually better on this one. Much more consistent too. Maybe it's more aerodynamic with the weird shape. In a race between the two, the Panther won purely by default. The Tiger, in true Tiger tank fashion, apparently has transmission issues. Here it is next to my 1/72nd scale Panther G. Now I'm not saying I did an amazing job on this model here, it was actually one of my first builds, but at least it looks more like the real thing. Most importantly, notice how the rear end of this looks. See how it slopes down? That's good. Compare that to this one, where it slopes up. Wrong. Bad. Gross. I don't even think I need to say anything about the front. So here's what I got in total with the two boxes combined. 2 pretty low quality tank toys, and 25, yes, 25 soldiers. Somehow I managed to get an extra one out of one of these tins. Honestly, I think they should have just sold the figures. Although their molds aren't great, at least they feel more solid than the tanks. They have a goofy cartooniness to them that seems to fit fine for a toy. The tanks, however, aren't good at all. I know I haven't mentioned the paint jobs on them, but that's only because it doesn't really bother me. With the rest of the soldiers being green, it just kinda makes sense for the tanks to kinda just be ugly green too. Besides, the French have done worse. What bothers me is that they clearly knew what some of the finer details looked like, and yet somehow didn't know what the actual tank looked like. Why go through all that effort of making the surfaces look good when you're only going to give up when it comes to the main mold? So do I recommend these? No, not at retail price of 10 USD I don't. But if you find them marked down like I did, maybe. Between the two sets, I think we found that the tank in a tin is far superior. Classic argument can be made, of course, oh, this is for kids though, they don't care how good it is, as long as they're entertained, who cares? But considering both tank in a tin and tank in a box were the same retail price of $10, and the value is vastly different, even though they're supposed to have the same things in them, I think the better choice is still tank in a tin. Let me know what you guys think. Leave any ideas you have for what I can do with these tanks. Like turning them into dioramas or actually making them look good or something like that. Anyway, I think that'll do it for today's video. As always, thank you for watching, subscribe if you like what I do here, and have a great rest of your day.